Thanks. All right, let's all gather back together. Okay, watching my difficulty. All right. Welcome one, welcome all. It's nice to be here with everyone. I got to go on vacation with my in-laws, so it's nice to be back. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was great. We had a great time. I'm joking. No, we had a great time. We played pickleball, played a lot of games. We were at the beach, so thank you very much. That was sweet. And we're going to be continuing in the book of 2 Corinthians. We have entered into the middle half of the book, which is starting in chapter 8. And so we will be in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, doing verses 1 through 15. If you don't have a Bible, you can find that in your Pew Bible on page 967. 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Well, no matter how cheap or seemingly useless it is, a gift from a child's heart to mom is priceless, right? It's not so much what's given, but how and why that makes the gift when it comes to motherhood and receiving gifts. Treasure box, junk drawer, who's to tell, right? It all depends upon who gave the gift. That's the difference. So a mom brings kid into the world. Mom spends, with dad, $700 for a 2-day summer camp or whatever it is that they send the kids off to. And then I've read this poem before, but I really like it. It's from Billy Collins. It's called The Lanyard, and he's redescribing this time when he was at a summer camp. And he is sitting at the bench making a lanyard in response to his gratitude for his mom and everything that mom had given him. And he starts off talking about being at a workbench at camp, learning to braid the thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift from my dear mother. And then he has the sacrifices of mom kind of paralleled to his response. He says, she gave me life, taught me to walk, swim, lifted spoons of medicine to my sick lips and cold face, claws to my forehead. And I, in turn, presented her a lanyard. Here are 1,000 meals, she said, clothing, education, love. Here is my lanyard I made with a little help from my camp counselor that you paid for. Here's a breathing body, a beating heart, strong legs, 2 clear eyes to read and love the world. And here, Mom, is my lanyard. And when she took that 2-tone lanyard from my hand, I was sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing was enough to make us even. It's not so much what's given, but it's how and why that makes the gift the gift. And from the little Billy Collins came a wholehearted gift to the one who had given him so much. In 2 Corinthians chapter 8 through 9, Paul's going to discuss this part of the Christian life called giving. We're called to steward our financial resources generously. And the Christian's life is characterized, as I said before, as one of stewardship because we recognize everything is received from and belongs to God. So we are called stewards of all the things we're given. Paul, in this passage I'm going to read, he talks about giving as an act of grace. He'll say twice. It's a response of gratitude to God's generosity. It's also this sign that God's grace has reached into our heart as well. See, this grace of giving, before we read it so you can hear it correctly, it's not so much a condition for receiving God's love, right? We don't give financially or even other resources of our time to receive God's love. It's a grace in the sense that it's a sign of spiritual fruit in our heart. In fact, at the end of the book of Philippians, Paul is asking for a tithe and an offering to support the missions work. And he says, look, I don't seek the gift. I just want really the fruit that's going to be on your behalf. The mother doesn't need the lanyard. She wants the child's heart, and that's what makes her really happy. And Jesus doesn't want our money. He doesn't need our money. He wants our life, and he wants all of our life. And when grace influences all the way down into that last secret spot that's preserved from money, well, then God has touched the core of our little allotted gods in this world that give us power, safety, and security. You see, giving wholeheartedly is very hard to do. It doesn't come natural. That's why it's called a grace. That's why a law was given in the Old Testament. Giving's hard, and it becomes half-hearted because it usually shows the God of money has a hold of our heart in some way. I was listening to a podcast that I'll recommend at the end, and Andy Crouch was saying, we speak about in accountability groups with men about sexual purity and a lot of really intimate things. But when was the last time you sat in a group to discuss your financial standing and how you give to people? No. And he said the measure with which we're able to have it in secret is the measure in which it still has a hold on our heart. So I ask myself as I read this, money, which is a power that can be stored and it has security, is my identity and purpose tied to this power and security of my money? Is wholehearted giving hard for me? Wholehearted giving, that's what we'll talk about today. God invites us to give wholeheartedly so that we can learn to be enriched in everything. That's kind of what 8 and 10 are all about in 2 Corinthians, these 2 chapters. Today I just want to talk about God invites us to give wholeheartedly and look at what that means. So let's read this passage, and then we will go in and look a little more in detail. 2 Corinthians chapter 8, Paul says, now switching to this topic, we want you to know, brothers, about the grace of God that has been given among the churches of Macedonia. For in a severe test of affliction, their abundance of joy and their extreme poverty have overflowed in a wealth of generosity on their part. For they gave according to their needs, as I can testify, and beyond their means of their own accord, begging us earnestly for the favor of taking part in the relief of the saints. And this, not as we expected, but they gave themselves first to the Lord, and then, by the will of God, to us. Accordingly, we urge Titus that he has started, so he should complete among you this act of grace. But as you excel in everything, in faith and speech and knowledge and all earnestness and in our love for you, see that you excel in this act of grace also. I say this not as a command, but to prove by the earnestness of others that your love is also genuine. For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sake he became poor, so that you, by his poverty, might become rich. And in this matter I gave my judgment. This